Hello everyone, and welcome to this SpunkGo webinar. I'm Galiva and I'm from the US chapter. Today's speaker is Susannah Wellford. She founded an organization where she trains women who from there on out go to Senate. It's my greatest pleasure to welcome Susannah to talk about how she impacted many women through her organization. Just a side note, Q&A will be done by the chat feature after her presentation, where she will answer the questions that you guys have. SpunkGo is an all-girls global student organization where proceeds go to charity. We are currently being crowdfunded via ifundwomen.com. Any contribution you make will be highly appreciated. With that, the floor is now yours, Susannah.
I got it. Okay. Hi. Now I have the power to speak. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon, I suppose, to many of you. For me, it's 9 in the morning, and I hope that I have had enough coffee to give a coherent talk to you all. So thank you very much, Galiba, for that lovely introduction. And SpunkGo, I'm very happy to be here and to speak to everybody. I hope that you all will have lots of questions. I really love answering questions. But what I'm going to do in the first part is I'm going to talk to you a little bit about politics in general, especially in the US, but really I think a lot of what I say is going to apply all over the world. And then I'll tell you a little bit about what Running Start specifically does, and then how we do it. And then I will answer any questions that you all have. So let me just, I'm actually just going to give you a brief introduction of me. I founded Running Start 14 years ago. And before that, I had founded a political action committee helping women get elected to politics in 1999. So a little bit over 20 years ago. And before that, I was in politics. I grew up in Washington, D.C. I worked in the House of Representatives. I worked in the Senate. I worked in President Bill Clinton's White House. I worked in an agency. So, I mean, I saw all different sides of politics. I worked on a couple of campaigns. And what I continued to see was not enough women in leadership anywhere. So today we're talking about politics, but in running campaigns, heading agencies, being the leaders, there were never enough women. And as a young woman, this really bothered me. And I started to do research on, okay, well, so if there are not enough women in power, why aren't there? What are the factors that make that happen? And so many of you, I think, might be from around the world. I know in many places, structural barriers are the things that keep women out of politics. So it's not easy for women to get into office because of laws that make it hard for them, right? In the US, that's really not true. We have some structural barriers that make getting into politics difficult, but the real reason we don't have as many women in power in the United States is that not enough women run for office. And so that's really the reason that I started Running Start. Is I thought, okay, if not enough women run for office, and then if you look at why, women will tell you, women who are really like at the top of their professional games, who are the most impressive women you've ever met, they'll tell you they don't feel qualified to run for office. So back in 2007, I thought, okay, if women who are in their 50s don't feel confident running for office, maybe we need to talk to women in their teens and 20s to show them that they do have what it takes to run, that they need to get themselves in the ring, because the only way that we're ever going to have enough power is if we seek that power. And so that's what Running Start does. We train young women to see themselves as political leaders, and then we give them the tools that they need to increase their confidence, make the connections they need, increase their skills, so that they really they feel confident that they know what they're doing when they want to run. And I should say that even though Running Start is about political leadership, and my greatest desire is for everybody on this call to think about running for office at some point and leading in your communities and in your countries, really everything we do at Running Start, it's directly transferable. The skills that you need to be a leader in the US Senate, they're really the same skills you need to run a business, to lead a club at school, to do anything that requires you to convince other people that you have good ideas and that you can help to lead them. So Running Start, since 2007, we have trained over 20,000 young women, mainly in the US. We started out just US based, but over time we have become increasingly international, and we've done trainings. Oh my gosh, I used to remember how many countries, but I think it's in like 11 countries. And we hope to do more. And we also, international students are almost always now a part of our US programs, in part because the trainings that we do, they're not about US politics. They're about the things you need to become a leader. And that's universal, that cuts across everything. So our goal is to get more women into politics at every level. And I'm going to talk to you in a second about how the three pillars that we train on are confidence, capabilities, and connections. But first, I want to just talk to you all briefly about the US election this time around. Um, I think this is going to be the most exciting election of my lifetime. Now, I did think that in 2016. So, but here we are again. And I think what US election could have as much riding on it as this one does. In 2018, which was our last congressional election, we had more women run for Congress than ever before, and we really greatly increased the number of women who are serving, serving in the U.S. Congress, and that is incredibly, fabulously great. Like there were all these headlines about how it was the year of the woman, and finally we were getting more women to run. I got a little concerned though, because I went back and I looked at those numbers. I wanted to see, okay, so more women are running for politics than ever before. What does that mean? And in fact, it meant that of all of the candidates running for Congress, women were about 20% of those candidates. And so if you think about that for a minute, we were 20% of the candidates, and that was the best we'd ever done. That was like headline making. And that makes me a little bit sad, because it shows, imagine if all of those women won, it still wouldn't have given us parity. We wouldn't have had equal numbers. So this time around, we have even more women running. So I'm going to cheat and look at my notes, which I think, right. So 29% of all candidates running for the US House are women this year. So we are doing better than we did in 2018, which was like the groundbreaking year. Everybody's really, really excited about this. Really interestingly, half of those women running are women of color. They're non-white women. That's huge, because I'm cheating again. It's too early to remember facts here in New York. So right now there are 4.3% of Congress is women of color. And I think there's a real chance to raise that number this year. And in 2018, you guys probably have saw that we gained so many firsts to Congress. People who had never had anybody like them, who looked like them, elected to Congress, got elected. The first two Native American women, the first Black woman elected from Connecticut, the first two Hispanic women elected from Texas. I mean, there were so many firsts. It was really exciting. I really hope this year we're going to even do better. Okay, and right, and I want to tell you just one other thing. Right, I want to just tell you about what Running Start are programs that are open to you, because I always forget this part, and I want to say it right in the beginning so that you all will be thinking about this and hopefully you will apply. So I don't know the ages of everybody on the line, but we have three main programs, and the first one is a program open to high school students, really from about age 13 to 19, when most people graduate from high school. You can come apply to our program this year. So usually it's a week in Washington, D.C. And this year, of course, it was not that. So this year it was a 6-week virtual course that went really, really well. I'm sure you all have done a million things that are virtual, and we thought it was such a gamble to do it, but it was really, really good. So that program takes about 80 students. They come from absolutely everywhere. And we had a young woman from Uzbekistan who switched her timetable so that she could be up in the middle of the night to be part of our program. So we have really dedicated people. The second program that we do is called Elect Her, and we go to high schools and colleges all around the country And this is the one that we've actually done internationally more than any other program. And it's a one-day training on how and why to run for student government. Because when we look at most schools, mostly men run the student governments, even if there are way more women in the schools. So we go into schools and talk, give our talk about why it's so important to run for office and why we need more women. And we see the best results from that program. The percentages of women in the student bodies at those schools that we go to, it rises, almost all of them rise immediately. So that's really exciting. And then the last program is our smallest, and it's one where we take 6 fellows. Oh, I'm wrong. No, because we gain 1, 7. So it's between 7 and 8 fellows a semester who have, mainly we're taking people who've just graduated from college, but I think you can apply as a junior or senior. And we put you in a house on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., and we find you a job with a congresswoman. And we do a seminar for you on Friday to introduce you to people, to talk to you about professional skills, and just to hone your leadership skills. So those are our 3 main programs, and you can find more information on how to apply at runningstart.org. So, okay, let me talk to you, and I'm really mindful of the time because I like to talk, and especially about Running Start, and there's never enough time. So I'm going to try to be brief and just tell you a little bit about how we do what we do. And really, this is a story of what I think it takes to run for office, whether you're running for a president of a club at school or student government at school, or whether you're running for a position in your community or your state or your country. Like I said in the beginning, we have 3 pillars: confidence, capabilities, and connections. And I'm going to just break those down for you all. Okay, so confidence. Confidence seems like such a soft skill. And it probably also seems, because it certainly did to me, that there's some people who are born with confidence and there's some people who are born not feeling very confident. And that's the way it is. And I read a book many years ago that really changed my idea about confidence. It was called The Confidence Code by Claire Shipman and Katty Kay. And what it talks about is, it talks about confidence as a muscle. Confidence is a muscle that, like any other muscle, gets stronger if you exercise it. And if you just leave it alone and you just accept it, that it's never going to get any better, then it doesn't. So first, sometimes I talk to audiences and I can tell that they bristle a little bit when I say that women lack some of the confidence that men have in pursuing leadership. But I think it's the most natural thing on earth that women would not be as naturally confident about becoming, president of the United States as a man would, because for millennia, for as long as we've had humans, except in certain tiny, discrete societies, men have been the leaders. Men have been the ones who have been calling the shots, who've been governing our countries, who've been making the laws. And so I think it's the most natural thing that, of course, we don't see ourselves in those roles. We're only just beginning to. And I think a lot of people think that it's so slow, this move of the world to get more women leaders. And yeah, I wish it was way faster than it is. But sometimes I step back and I think, right, but men have always been at that, they've always been at the top. And we're trying to have this huge cultural shift where we shift to have women. Well, you guys can debate whether you want women at the top and men below, or whether you want them to be equal. I think that the key to better peace and harmony is if we have equal leadership between men and women. And that brings me to one other point, that if you are a white male and you're Christian and you're straight, and maybe you're rich, you probably feel pretty confident that you belong in leadership. But let's just say that instead of being a white male, you're a female. You are one step out of that like perfect confidence bubble where you're like, of course they should want me. I'm exactly like everybody else who's ever been elected to power. So if you're a female, you're a step outside that inner circle. And then if you're not white, you're a step outside that. And maybe you're not straight, then you're a step outside that. And so every step that you get outside that inner circle of like, of course I look like leadership and power, you're going to have more of a struggle. You're going to face more barriers, and you are going to have to sometimes find the confidence to step into power and leadership, even though nobody looks like you. And so, great. Oh, there's so many things I want to talk to you about with that, but maybe we can come back to that with question and answer. Okay, so I'm going to tell you two stories about overcoming confidence. So when, like I said, if you're outside of that inner circle, you're going to need more confidence to say, yeah, I belong there. I am a leader. Because you all know the thing that says you can't be what you can't see. Well, it's really, really true. It's so helpful to have a role model, to have somebody who looks like you, who you can say, well, she did it and I can do it too. So let me tell you just two really quick stories. One is from our very first Running Start class back in 2007. We had a student who was I'm gonna use her words. I would never describe her this way, but she actually gave a speech to Running Start, and this is what she said. She said that she'd always wanted to run for head of her Democratic club at school, and I asked her, I was like, "Well, you should do it. This is great. I'm so happy. You told me that." And she said, "I could never do it. I could never run. I am not a popular kid. I'm not one of the popular girls at school, and only the popular girls get elected." So she had this story in her head that said, I look the wrong way, I act the wrong way, I am the wrong way, I'm not who can get to this position of leadership, right? So I had a week with her, anyway, I had a week with her to try to convince her, and all the rest of the Running Start people did. And so at the end of it, she said, I'm going to run for office. And she ran for office and she won. And I think she was so incredibly surprised. But what she did is she had a real campaign. Like, instead of just making it a popularity contest, like, she ran on the issues. She convinced people that she was the right person for the job, despite the fact that she was not popular, whatever that means. The second story is about one of my favorite people on earth, Rana Abdelhamid, who was in our 2009 class. And Rana wears a hijab. She's Muslim. And she said the same thing to me. She said, I really want to go to college and I want to run for student government in college, but obviously nobody would ever vote for me because they're not going to vote for a woman in a headscarf. Nobody looks like me. Nobody like me has ever been elected. And she talked to Running Start. She went through our program and she did end up running. She went to Middlebury College. She ran for Student Senate and she won. And I use those two examples because I think so often we tell ourselves a story that says we don't have what it takes to do this thing. And that story is the thing that holds us back. It holds us back from things that where we can make a huge difference. Because I think that having both of those students in the positions that they changed things in the bodies that they were helping to represent, because they were different from the people who had come before. And that is one of my big goals. It's not just to get women into office, it's to get young people into office, it's to get people of color into office, it's to get people from experiences that are not that inside bubble into office, because I think their experience is going to change politics. And not just politics, because politics, of course, is society. It's changing the way we live, the way we think, the way everything around us is governed. So, okay, so that is confidence. So the point of that is force yourself to do hard things. And if you don't see somebody who looks like you, it probably means that you're needed to be that first one. Okay, let's see. I feel like I'm running out of time already, but here we go. Capabilities. Capabilities is, we had to think of a C word that really meant skills training. So there we are, capabilities. In order to lead people, you need several things. You need to be able to be a public speaker and have a voice that people will listen to. You need to be able to convince people that you can lead them and that they should follow you. And you need to be able to make quick decisions. So if you're being interviewed by a reporter, or even frankly, like when I'm going to be answering questions from you guys on this panel, you need to be able to think quickly and to get out of your comfort zone and respond like on the fly. So what we do at Running Start is we have a lot of different exercises where we ask people to get out of their comfort zones and stand on a stage with a microphone and make a speech and be persuasive. And these exercises are difficult for everybody. In fact, it's funny, often, so we teach the elevator speech. I don't know if you guys have ever had training on giving an elevator pitch, but every time that we do the elevator pitch, I have to stand up and give one because it's only fair. Like if we're going to make the students do it, then whoever's the trainer has to give one first. And every time I do it, it's difficult. But it's only through repetition of those hard things, practicing those hard leadership skills, that ever makes you any better or gets rid of your fear. It's also really true that we tell ourselves stories. I mean, all the time I'll have somebody come up to me in one of the, like we do a big networking reception, which is intimidating because you find yourself in a room full of professional women who are all, I mean, I'm a little intimidated by many of them because they've just done such big things. And Running Start expects you to go up to them and shake their hand and to have conversation with them. And every year somebody says to me, listen, I'm shy or I'm introverted and I can't do that. I can't network because I don't do that thing. So you can do anything. Just, I mean, never forget, I am a really introverted person. And the first time that I had to give a speech, I almost didn't do it because I thought, I don't know what I thought was going to happen. I didn't think I was going to die. I just thought I was going to be so terrible that I'd be revealed as a fraud. Um, and and then I did it, and I probably wasn't very good, but I did it. And then the next time I did it, it got easier. And one thing I want to tell you is all of these skills that you might think, well, I can't do it because everybody else is better than I am, or they're going to really see that I don't know anything if I try to do this skill. I'm 52. I want to tell you, I have had probably a million conversations, sometimes with men, but almost entirely with women who say they give a brilliant, beautiful speech to one of our Running Start audiences, and then in the hallway on the way to the elevator, they're like, "Did I do okay? Oh my God, I thought I messed up so much. I was terrible." They're always really good. So I guess my point is some bit of that wondering whether you're good enough never goes away, but you need that strong voice in your head that recognizes it for what it is, that says, you know, you're probably were much better than what you thought, and good for you for doing it. You need that. Okay. Lastly, connections. A lot of the people who come through Running Start, they are not people who come from communities that have a lot of support. So they don't have great mentors. They don't have a father who's a senator who can say, I'm going to get you an internship. They don't know the right people or the people in power who can help them get where they want to go. And I always think, okay, so if you have great confidence and you have developed an incredible elevator pitch to show who you are and what you stand for to get other people to lead you, it's all for nothing if you can't bring that message out to people. So luckily we are living in a time where we have the internet. We have 25 social media platforms where we can use that as our voice, and your generation is doing so beautifully. I'm still struggling with that, but you guys are doing really, really well. But the in-person is also really, really important. I encourage everybody who goes through Running Start to find as many opportunities as possible to go out and meet people, interesting people, people who are outside of that little bubble of yours, which is your family and your friends and the people you feel comfortable with. And it's great if you're armed with an elevator pitch that says, this is who I am, this is what I'm all about, and this is how I would like your help. So Running Start creates many, many opportunities for our participants to be in those rooms where there are powerful people who can help them. And the help is everything from helping them get an internship to introducing them to people to sometimes just, sometimes all it is being a role model, showing them um, where somebody who looks like them can get to. And I'm actually, I'm just remembering that Netra was telling me that I think it's her grandmother is friends with Kamala Harris's mother, our Senator Kamala Harris, who's running for vice president. And I don't know if anybody watched the vice president, my gosh, I cannot speak, the vice presidential debate this week, but I loved where she was talking about like somebody like me is on this stage and how amazing that is that somebody like me has made it to here. And she didn't do it alone. She had lots and lots of help. And so one thing that one mistake that I made early on, and that frankly, I'm still not great at, I never have asked for help enough. And when anybody asks me to do anything, and I have to tell you something, 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning is really hard for me because I like to sleep late and I like to be lazy on Saturday mornings. It's 9 a.m. my time, but you guys asked me to speak, and I love being asked to speak and to share the story of Running Start. And so just don't hesitate to ask people to help you in whatever it is. And the worst thing that can happen is somebody will say no, but it's through asking people, especially people who are a stretch for you, people who you are intimidated to ask, that you really get those great gifts in life, where you learn things that or you get to places that you never thought that you could. Okay, I have a minute, and I'm going to give you takeaways, and then I think we will do questions. First takeaway, you are never too young to do big things. You all are part of this group. You probably know that already, but you are never too young to start on your journey to leadership. So, don't say, when I'm older, I'm going to do this thing. Start right now, because there's always something that you can be doing. And what I like to tell our participants is there's something in your community, in your school, in your country that bothers you. And maybe you've thought of a better way for that thing to be done. So start right now, even if it's just talking to other people about your suggestion on how we can change things. So you're never too young. The second one is like a no-brainer, but I just have to say it. We need more women in politics. We need women to step up and to seek those positions in politics. And then the last one is ask for help. Ask for what you need. You will be so surprised by, it's not actually the last one, but anyway, you will be so surprised by what you get when you start asking people. I've sent emails off from time to time where I'm shaking. I'm like, I cannot even believe I am asking this person for this thing. And it's the greatest thing in the world when they say yes. So okay, so I lied. There actually are 4 things. And then the last one is flex your confidence muscle. Do those things that you're most afraid of, because I promise you, not doing them makes them become something that's like much larger than life. And when you do it, it diffuses some of that fear. And maybe you're not even going to be good at it, but then the next time you're going to be a little bit better. And I don't know if you've ever seen somebody public speaking when they do just a really awful job and they're nervous and their knees are shaking and maybe they even have tears in their eyes because they're so nervous. I always kind of love it a little bit because I think that person is so scared to be doing this and they're still doing it. So just be kind to yourselves and realize that you can do these things that are hard and that they will get better and that people are going to be kinder to you than you think. Okay, it's 9:32. I feel like I just speed talked through all of that. So I see that there are some questions. So I'm going to go through and answer your questions. Okay. From Jana, she says, how did you overcome doubt from other people about your organization and its values? That's a really good question. Yeah, in the beginning, when I first started, actually, not even just Running Start, but my previous organization, that the goal was to get women under 40 elected to Congress. Um, People did not understand that. They didn't understand why I'd be wasting my time on women under 40 because they were too young. And then they didn't understand why we would be bipartisan. So we take an equal, well, we try to take an equal number of Democratic and Republican candidates. And people thought that was not just, people thought it was dumb. They're like, nobody is ever going to support you. They're never going to give you money. I actually, and then when I started Running Start, I actually had a woman walk out of our first meeting and she wrote me later and she's like, I want you to take my name off of all of this because you are going to fail. This is a terrible idea and nobody's ever going to. So, right. So maybe I'm not really answering to this question, but the point is, um, I knew what I believed in. I think that that's the only way that you make it through is that if you really believe in what you're doing. And my bottom line is if you talk to young women about how they're needed in politics, you're going to get more of them to run. And that's going to be good for the entire world. So I wake up every morning and that's in the forefront of my brain. And as long as that makes sense to me and that's like a truth to me, then I'm going to be able to do my job. So hopefully, Jana, hopefully that answered your question. Um, Kristen says, first and foremost, oh, thank you. I could really see how passionate you are. What is your favorite thing about your work? Thank you so much, Kristen. That's very sweet. My favorite thing about my work, just hands down, is the people. So I think sometimes when you run an organization, you can get further and further away from the actual work that you do. Because my job really is to raise money. What else? And to be a spokesperson, right? But I mean, those two things. But the money raising is big, and the money raising is I'm hanging out with people who have money and writing letters and grant proposals and things, and that is far removed from the participants who we train. But I've always kept a toe in the training. So I do some of the training myself, and then I watch the whole high school program, and it's watching the students go from feeling insecure about something to feeling confident. That is just that's I have the greatest job ever because it's positive. It's filled with such positivity, and right now in the world there's such negativity. So I get to see the positive, good side of life. I feel like much more than other people. Okay, Netra says she's not a good public speaker. Netra, I feel, well, you know what, we're not going to do this because I don't know you guys well enough to put you on the spot, but I feel like what we should do is we should turn the camera over to you and have you give a little speech, and then people could give you an acclamation and tell you that you're doing a good job because I just think I think that the only way to become a good public speaker is to try it over and over again. And I'm one of those weirdos who I talk to my mirror. I have given whole speeches to myself in front of my bathroom mirror, and it's helpful. It's really helpful. It's not it's not perfect because you have to look in your own eyes, which is really awkward, I think. But practicing alone is great. And then I also will sometimes I'll videotape myself and I'll watch myself. That's painful too, man. People don't like to see themselves like that. But I think maybe what it does is it lets you realize you're not as bad as you think you are. And so, Netra, just practice. And if you want to email me and get on the line with me and practice in front of me, I would be very happy to do that. And I'm going on too long on this one question, but I want to tell you one thing. People have the tendency to think if I write it all down and I read it, then that's going to be how I give a good speech. People can tell, when you're not just speaking from the heart. So my encouragement for you all is to speak from the heart as much as possible, to try to be your authentic self as much as possible when you're speaking and answering questions, because that's what, like, speaking is all about connecting with people. It's all about saying something that resonates with another human being so that they want to really listen to you, right? And so it's harder to do that when you just have a set speech because it doesn't seem as real. Okay, I think, oh my goodness, hold on one sec. Let me just, I don't want to miss any. And okay, that was Netra. Oh, okay. Shawana wants to know how to apply for the high school program. If you go to runningstart.org, there's an application that actually runs all the time. So you can apply today, even though applications don't open until, I think they either open in November or December, but you can apply today. And then when they open, we'll see your application and we'll consider you. So, Shawana, if you have any trouble with that, then feel free to email me. I'm Susannah@runningstart.org. Um, okay, Tracy says she's an introverted person. How does she build your confidence to start with? Slowly. And I try to be really kind to myself because as an introverted person, I don't have as much energy to interact with people. So I think the main thing is don't use that title of introverted or shy as an excuse to turn opportunities away because there are so many people who are in the public eye who have, who that's how they identify, but they have figured out tricks that allow them to overcome that. So I think that that that's the main thing is just sometimes I don't love it when people say you have to fake it until you make it, but with confidence, sometimes you do. And there have been times where I've been asked to do something and I think, oh my gosh, I don't know enough to do that thing. Like that's way beyond my capabilities. Something like this happened to me earlier this summer, and then I think, but they've asked me to do it, so they think I can do it, and so I probably can do it. And then I go and I do it, and I try very hard to be that person that they think I am, and often sort of in the middle of whatever I'm doing, I realize I know exactly what I'm doing. It's great. So yeah, Tracy, don't let that stop you. Okay. Lily wants to know about obstacles in founding Running Start. Yeah, I'll tell you, big obstacle is not asking for help. So I actually hired somebody to help me raise money. Raising money, at least for American NGOs, is the thing, right? You have to, it's probably for NGOs anywhere in the world, but you obviously, in order to do your work, you have to raise money. And I didn't want to ask people for money because I was worried they would say no to me. And I hired somebody who basically sat me down, made me write a list of everybody who I knew, and then made me go through that list and call them. And my God, it was so hard. It was really hard and uncomfortable. And many people told me no. And occasionally somebody told me no in a way that really actually hurt my feelings. But then a lot of people said yes, and people said yes who I did not expect to say yes. And I think that it's like what we've just been talking about. Like you have to make those asks that you're afraid of, because you're not going to get anything if you don't ask. And just realize getting told no is not the end of the world. It might hurt your ego a little bit, but and also, okay. Many times I have had somebody say no to me, including this one woman. She asked what I did at this event, and I told her what I did, and I knew she worked for a law firm, so I thought maybe her law firm might want to sponsor Running Start. And she basically, as soon as I was done, she said, I love what you're doing, but I don't have any money. I can't help you. Please don't ask me." And I'm like, okay, fine. So I didn't ask her, and then, but I kept in touch with her and we talked, and they're one of our biggest donors. It's not a crazy story. Like she came around. That has happened to me multiple times. So staying in touch with people is really important. When you get that no, try so hard not to take it personally and just keep at it. You don't have to ask them, but stay in contact with them, and eventually people will come around. Okay. Oh. Okay, I'm just reading a very nice note from Tracy. Thank you so much. Oh, Kyle, how can I support women around me who are interested in running for politics? Kyle, that is a great question. That makes me so happy. Um, and Kyle, you know what? I actually don't. I read that and I assumed that you were a man and not a woman. But I think I'll answer it both ways, unless you want to put in the chat. But first, as allies of women, people who are not women and who want to support as allies, I think that there's so many ways to do that. But in fact, maybe it's all the same. Let me just let me say there women are not always seen as the natural leaders, right? Or the people who are going to have a voice that's heard loudly by everybody or accepted by everybody. So one thing that you all can do with each other is to speak kindly of each other. So there was a great article, this is back when Obama was president, and some of the women who were some of his advisors, there weren't very many of them. And so they came up with a tactic, which was that when Nancy said something, then Tracy would say, you know, Nancy had a really good point. Did you guys hear Nancy's point? I really like that point. Nancy, can you tell us more about it? So she amplified the message of the other woman in the room. And that is something that you all can do. You can support other women. You can say good things about other women. You can recommend when people are saying who would be good for this thing. You can think of each other and recommend each other. I have a friend who I've known since I was a young associate at a law firm many years ago, and she and we go back and forth. She nominates me for things, I nominate her for things. She writes an article and she mentions me, I write something and mention her. So that sort of thing where you're like a peer mentor to each other, that is really, really important. Okay. Where do I see, SpunkGo, that's a great question. Where do I see my organization going in the future? I'm going to tell you guys a crazy thing. So I woke up not that long ago, as I told you, it's 9 in the morning. And I had a dream last night, and it was the most incredibly vivid dream. In this dream, this big, intimidating funder said to me, okay, well, I think you should do this thing, and we're going to give you the money to do it. And the thing was that she thought that we should open up little running start like storefronts all over the world. So in big cities all over the world, where women and men, young women and men, could go to learn about women in politics, to watch videos about it, to talk to somebody about leadership and confidence. And the key to all of this was that we would have food, we'd have free food, which would lure the people in. I mean, this is my dream. It's just such a funny thing that I dreamed this last night, and then I woke up and I'm like, that's an interesting idea. And I don't know if any of you guys have ever been to the American centers, I think they're called. So in many of the countries around the world that I've been to, they have an American center, and it's just this nice place you can go to, and you can learn about America, and you can meet Americans, and that sort of thing. I think that may be where what my brain was pulling from. But I love this idea of, if you're interested in leadership, if you're interested in politics, and maybe nobody around you is interested in those things, where do you go? And how nice if you had an actual physical location to go to. But I'm really digressing, because actually our real goal is to do more and more electronic trainings using our alums as the facilitators to train, do our elector trainings that teach women in that one-day session how and why to run for office. But you know what I really want is Girl Scouts is everywhere. Girl Scouts is, there's nobody who doesn't know what a Girl Scout is in America. And wow, wouldn't it be so nice if one day Running Start had that same pull, that every girl understood that, of course, running for office was something that they could do, and every girl had been part of Running Start. So that would be That would be my goal. Okay. And let's see. Oh, and if anybody wants to connect, I'm going to put, oh, and Kyle is a male. And Kyle, you're just awesome to be here. Yeah, women do definitely get talked over. And, if you're somewhere and a woman says something, and then you hear the conversation just going on, you can call that back. You can gosh, that would be so incredibly helpful. Um, Tracy, I agree. I know. I think that, okay, good. Yes, we'll team up with SpunkGo and we'll have our little hubs and we'll serve cookies and pizza. That's as far as I got. Okay, I'm going to put down here my email. Okay, there's my email. Feel free to contact me. The only thing I'll say is I get a lot of emails, so I may not respond to you immediately, but I will respond to you. I'm one of these crazy people who really loves a clean inbox. So I'm likely to sit around on Saturday afternoon and clean it all out and make sure I respond to every message. But that is my one admonition. Oh no, you know what? Do you see, by the way, that I did my email wrong? Can you add an ad in there, Susannah at runningstart.org? I think you can do it without. Oh, sorry, hold on one sec. I just sent it to Tracy. Hi, everybody. Let me just, it's hard to talk and, okay, this time I'm going to check it and I'm not just going to send it to Tracy and done. Okay, good. Any other questions or did we cover everything? I'm waiting in silence thinking you guys maybe somebody who hasn't asked a question might want to ask one. And did I cover everyone? I think so. Oh, Dia is going to conclude. Okay, that is wonderful. Okay, well then the last thing I'll tell you is what plans do I have for the future? I want to write a book. I want to write a book about all of this and why Running Start does what it does and why it works. Because that's one thing I guess I haven't talked to you all so much about. But the reason we keep doing it is this method really works, and we see more and more of our young women winning offices. And we got our first congresswoman, who's a Running Start alum, Lauren Underwood from Illinois, who's one of the youngest women elected in Illinois. So anyway, so yeah, that's I want to write a book to talk about why it's so important to listen to young women's voices and what it can do to help everybody. Hey, thank you all so much. I really, really enjoyed being here, and I hope I will hear from many of you. And Netra, I especially want to hear from you because I want to hear you do some public speaking.
Hi, thank you, Susannah, for the great session, and thanks for everyone for attending it. And thanks for asking your wonderful questions. It was great hearing all those insightful questions and the answers you have to provide to our audience. If anyone needs any more details or wants to know how to participate in SpunkGo, please visit our website, www.spunkgo.com. And you can also follow us on our Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn pages for weekly updates. And you will automatically be invited for our future webinars. Also, we're giving a free guide to our past webinar. That was the 7 secrets of social media marketing. So if everyone could just send an email to gospunkgo@gmail.com, I'll write it in the chat and we will email the guide to you in a few days. And Susannah, it was great listening to you. Couldn't talk much. And yeah, we really look forward to reading your book in the future. And I will definitely personally implement all the tips you've given to boost confidence. As I'm a business person, so I aspire to network more. And I would really like to be more confident. So you really helped me a lot. And I think that's all for today. Thank you and good evening.